Hey guys, tonight we step off the familiar sidewalk and find ourselves in a street that time forgot. You're walking alone. It's later than you intended, and the wind is nudging wrappers and leaves down an alleyway you've never noticed before. Your phone loses signal. Your feet, for some reason, keep going, and that's when you see it. A storefront tucked between a vape shop and a closed-down bakery, its crooked wooden sign swinging gently, though there's no breeze. The gold lettering reads, Grunwald's Dolls and Delights, but the paint is faded, like it's been sunburned since before you were born. The windows are caked in grime, except one spot just at your eye level where the dust seems freshly wiped. As if something inside needed a clearer view, you step closer. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do. Here, I don't want any pity subs, just the brave ones. And hey, post your location and what time it is where you are. I'd love to know who's risking sleep tonight for a story like this. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. No, it's not even a proper door. It's got a bell that jingles like a nervous laugh, and the knob is colder than it should be. You push your way in. Instantly, the temperature drops. It smells like lavender that's gone slightly sour, like the potpourri bowls your grandmother left in guest bathrooms, except this has a hint of attic to it, the kind of air that makes your tongue feel dusty. There are dolls everywhere, porcelain cloth wood, some with eyes painted on others with those blinking plastic lids that move if you tilt the head. Only they don't seem to need tilting. You're pretty sure one of them just did a full blink on its own. The shop is lit by weak yellow bulbs strung overhead, like fairy lights someone forgot to take down. They buzz softly, a broken cadence. One of them flickers every time you step forward, as if your presence irritates it. You try to take a picture with your phone. It won't turn on. Not dead, just unresponsive. Like it's pretending. There's no one behind the counter. But the cash register, a chunky brass thing, dings suddenly. No one's near it. The drawer creeps open an inch and stays that way, like it's waiting for a payment that's already been made. Your foot taps something, a sign. It's a laminated paper, crookedly propped against a stand of doll-sized dresses. All sales final, no returns, no exchanges, no exceptions. You hear the bell jingle again, but the door's closed. Locked, actually. You tried the handle a minute ago, just for fun, just to make sure. Here's a strange fact for you. In 1911, the city of Hamburg, Germany, reported a shop that continued receiving tax notices long after its owner's disappearance. That shop, coincidentally, also sold dolls. Historians still argue whether the building was ever demolished. At all records trail off mid-sentence. Weird, right? You blink, one of the dolls is closer. You're sure it wasn't on that shelf before. She's a little ballerina, pink tulle, cracked cheek. One eye perpetually half-lidded. Her toes are pointed out like she's just finished a spin. You step backward. There's a photo on the wall near the register. You didn't see it before. It's faded, but the frame is ornate, and you squint until you make out the face. It's the same ballerina doll, except she's in the arms of a man in a long coat and bowler hat. His face is gaunt, but his eyes, they're too clear for such an old photograph. Like someone replaced them digitally. You lean closer, and then click. The photo falls. You jolt backward, heart thudding, but the frame didn't break, just slipped. You put it back. The man's eyes are now slightly looking left. You don't know how you know. You just know. Want a fringe detail that makes this all worse? Doll shops, especially in 19th century Europe, were sometimes built near cemeteries not for thematic reasons, but because morticians often reused old coffins for display furniture. Yep. Some of the display cases you're now admiring may have held very different occupants once. A thud from upstairs. You hadn't noticed the staircase, but it's there now just past the velvet curtain. You don't remember seeing it when you walked in. The dolls are facing it, all of them. Some turn their heads just slightly. You don't want to go up, so obviously you do. The steps are plush but squeaky, like someone buried springs inside velvet. Your hand runs along the railing, which is oddly sticky. Not fresh sticky. More like caramel left out in a humid room for weeks. At the top, a door is ajar. Behind it, humming. The lullaby kind. You pause. That's not a recording. The tune wavers like it's coming from an actual throat. An old one, raspy but sweet. And now you're thinking about that ballerina again. How her cracked cheek reminds you of your childhood neighbor's doll, the one your mom threw out, because you swore it spoke to you in the middle of the night. Your therapist said it was sleep paralysis. You're not so sure now. The upstairs hallway stretches longer than it should. That's not an exaggeration. You actually turned left into a wall earlier, but the corridor looped you back to the start. Architecture doesn't do that. Not unless the building wants you confused. You finally reach the room. Inside, mirrors, hundreds, maybe thousands. Some warped, some pristine, all facing inward, like they're watching something in the center. And there, in a tiny chair, is a doll, different from the others. She looks like she's waiting for someone. You don't step inside, not yet, but your name is echoing softly from the mirrors. Each one mouths it silently, just slightly out of sync. And for a heartbeat, you wonder if you're already inside, just looking back at yourself from the hallway. You don't go into the room with the mirrors, not yet. Something in your ribs tightens every time you try to step across the threshold, like your body knows something your brain's still politely ignoring. So instead, you backtrack. Down the hallway again, past the curtain that probably wasn't read when this shop first opened. You find yourself back at the ground floor, standing near that smug little bell above the door. Still locked, still cold. And now the dolls are closer again. But it's not until you see the brass plaque under the counter that things start to fall into place. Founded 1894 by Herr Jakob Grunwald, proprietor, artisan, collector. Collector of what exactly? Here's a nugget for your nightmares. In the late 19th century, several doll makers began using real human hair on their higher-end porcelain creations. Supposedly, it gave the dolls a more lifelike quality. Right, because that's what kids really need, something lifelike enough to check on them while they sleep. Anyway, you circle behind the counter, the registers still half open, the drawer lined with velvet. A single coin sits inside, too shiny for its supposed age. It has no denomination, just a date, 1894, and an engraving of an eye that's slightly off-center. Below the counter is a guest book. The leather is cracked and curled at the corners, like it's been left out in the sun for decades. You open it, expecting maybe a few cutesy notes, but the ink is heavy, careful, like each name was etched in with the precision of a signature on a last will and testament. Each entry ends with a dot. Not a period, a dot, like a bead of blood. Or wax, you're not sure which. And then you see it. One page yellowed like the rest bears the name J. Grunwald. But instead of a date, there's a sentence. Returned to finish the transaction. You're still processing that when a sound comes from the back of the shop. Soft at first, like fingers brushing velvet. Then louder, the scuff of a boot on old tile. You turn. There's a narrow corridor leading to what looks like an office. A door slightly ajar. You make your way toward it. You expect dust. What you don't expect is the feeling that someone just walked past you in the opposite direction. Fast, cold, no footsteps, just movement. Inside the office, everything is still perfectly arranged. A ledger lies open on the desk, notebooks stacked neatly, a chair pushed in, as if Herr Grunwald had only just stepped away and would return any second now to scold you for poking through his things. The air smells like ink and old glue, and there next to a bundle of dry roses in a cracked vase is a letter. It's written in a hand that loops and curls, old-fashioned and precise. The kind of handwriting you almost never see anymore. January 8, 1913. My dearest Liesel, if you are reading this, I have completed the second formulation. The girl in red responded even better than expected. Her laughter still echoes through the mirrors, though the music box required recalibration. Tell father I will not return until the third sequence is perfected. These customers are not merely buyers, they are vessels. The dolls remember what they are owed. J.G. You put the letter down and realize the mirror in the corner has fogged up, as if someone just breathed on it. You approach and see a face behind your reflection. It's not yours. This is where the historical part gets creepier. There was a Jakob Grunwald, sort of. The name appears in a few obscure trade publications. Around 1890s Bavaria, listed as an innovator of mechanical automata. But there's no record of a death certificate, no obituary, just silence. Like someone erased him from the last half of his own story. Historians still argue whether he ever left Germany or simply vanished with his entire workshop. You back away from the mirror. A new sound catches your ear murmuring, soft, rhythmic. You follow it. At the end of another too-long hallway is a second staircase, this one narrower, more worn. And judging by the musty chill coming from below, it leads to the basement. Of course you go. Each step groans like it's holding a grudge. The air down here is thicker. Your breath comes out in mist, and your skin prickles with the kind of goosebumps you only get when something is watching but you're not sure where from. And then you hear it, not murmuring, whispering, tiny voices, like someone left 20 radios on in another room, each tuned to a different unsettling lullaby. You reach the bottom. There's a single bulb swinging overhead, casting a slow, nauseating strobe across the cellar. It's a long, low room lined with shelves, and on those shelves, dolls, hundreds, maybe more, all facing inward, all centered on a chair, empty for now. You step forward, drawn by the sheer wrongness of it, and then whirr, a click, a creak. Something mechanical stirs in the far corner. You move closer and find an old phonograph, one of those trumpet-shaped ones you see in museums. It's turning, on its own. The needle skips, catches, and begins to play. Do you remember how we laughed when your name was still your own? Now your voice belongs to me, and I'll never be alone. The dolls seem to lean in slightly. You're beginning to suspect this was never a shop. Not really. And just when you think you can't take any more, the bulb bursts. Darkness. Total. But just for a moment. Because behind you, someone lights a match. The match flares to life behind you, and for a second, just one strained heartbeat, you see a face. Not a doll. Not quite human either. The skin is pale waxy. The eyes... oh, the eyes are glass. Or maybe not. Maybe they're just too still. They catch the light like a mirror catches secrets. The match hisses out. Darkness again. You spin around, breath caught somewhere between lungs and throat, but nothing's there. No footsteps, no lingering heat. Just that unmistakable feeling that you've now been seen. You're not supposed to be down here. You turn your phone on again, and of course it's working now. The flashlight cuts a narrow tunnel through the dark, casting long shadows across the dolls. Some are missing arms. Others have their mouths sewn shut with real thread, not paint. One has a crack down her face that almost looks like a smile. You walk toward the far wall. There's something strange there, wood paneling that's slightly off in color. You press, it swings open. Behind it, another room, a hidden one. Now here's a fun, historical morsel to chew on. During the early 20th century, secret rooms in commercial buildings weren't all that rare. Prohibition-era speakeasies, illegal printing presses, even small Masonic chambers. Tiny worlds tucked inside the normal ones. But this isn't any of those. You step inside. It's colder here, much colder, and quiet. Blessedly so. Until the hum begins, it starts in your teeth. That dull electric buzz that makes your fillings ache. Then it shifts, deepening, turning into the unmistakable whir of sewing machines. You count 4 of them, all old. Iron-framed, foot-pedal driven. Definitely from before the war. You want to say World War II, but no, these might be even older. One still has a price tag tied to the wheel, 3 shillings, Vienna, 1897. And they're all moving. No hands guiding the fabric, no feet on the treadles. Just needles stabbing up and down, sewing. Nothing. And then the threads begin to tighten. Not just on the machines, in the air. It feels like the very walls are pulling taut. Like the room is about to exhale something it's been holding for a century. On the table, next to the farthest machine, sits a half-finished doll. Cloth body, porcelain head, but the face is unfinished. Just faint outlines. No eyes yet. And yet its head turns. Not fast, not menacing. Just a slow, curious tilt, like it's remembering you. You take a step back. The machine stops. Another step. Another one halts. You don't run. You walk like you're leaving a party and don't want anyone to know you saw something you shouldn't have. But the moment you step out of the hidden room, you hear it. Laughter. A little girl's. Short, breathless, not happy. More like she's hiding and trying not to get caught. And suddenly you notice something else in the main basement. Something you missed before. A small shelf tucked under the stairs. On it, photographs, framed, fading. Each picture shows a different child alone, standing in front of this very shop. But there's a pattern. They all look vaguely similar, like siblings from different generations. Same dark hair, same pale skin, same distant expression. As if they're posing because they have to. And each frame has a brass plaque. Not a name, a date. Birth, disappearance, hard to tell. Now here's a curious tidbit. Some early photo studios, especially in the Victorian era, used dolls as stand-ins for deceased children in family portraits. The family would pose around the doll dressed in their child's clothes to create a memory that was both tribute and denial. It's weird, yes, but it was a cultural attempt to hold on to the loved one's death had already taken. You lean in closer to one frame. The child's eyes look freshly painted. You swear the ink is still drying. You turn away, and that's when you see her again, the ballerina doll. She's here now, in the basement, just sitting on the stairs. She wasn't there when you came down. She's watching. No, not watching. Waiting. You make for the steps, careful not to brush against any of the shelves. You don't want to wake anyone or anything. Halfway up, you hear the whisper again. This time it's clearer. Don't finish her face. The voice is right next to your ear. You spin. Nothing. But the ballerina's now at the foot of the stairs. Her head is tilted in that same familiar way. Cracked smile. Lazy blink. She's closer than she should be. You reach the top, burst through the door, and slam it shut behind you. The lock clicks, but you know it's pointless. She got upstairs once. She'll do it again. You're back in the main shop now, panting, sweating despite the cold. You lean against the counter, and something shifts beneath your hand. It's the guest book again. It's open to a new page. Your name is still not there, but a space is, as if the shop is waiting for you to sign in. A pen lies beside it, old, ornate, silver and red. You touch it. It's warm, no hot, like someone just put it down. And then the bell above the door rings. The door hasn't opened, but someone or something has just arrived. You don't move. You don't breathe. The bell above the door sways just slightly, though the air is perfectly still. You stare at it like it might drop and clatter to the floor, but it doesn't. Instead, a shadow passes behind the frosted glass of the entrance. Then another, and another. They don't knock. They don't jiggle the handle. They just wait, as if the shop is going to let them in when it decides the time is right. You step away from the guest book. The pen rolls gently toward the blank line next to your name's phantom imprint. Nope, not today. You back toward the far wall again, past the shelves of little glass eyes, rows of tiny shoes that never scuff hats, stitched so tight they might hold thoughts. You pause in front of a cabinet labeled Restoration Pieces. Curiosity, your old frenemy, pokes at you. You unlatch the glass door. Inside are doll parts, heads, limbs, torsos sorted by material and era. Victorian Edwardian Art Deco. Some have numbers carved into the porcelain like serial codes. Others have initials scratched into the scalp. One disturbingly has a molar lodged inside its chest cavity. You don't ask why. And in the center of the shelf, on a small red cushion, is a folded note. You open it carefully. The paper is so thin it crackles like fire. She remembers your voice. Don't hum again. You weren't humming, at least not that you remember, which is probably worse. In 1932, during the excavation of a collapsed building in Prague, researchers found an abandoned doll workshop. Most of the walls were scorched black, but one room remained intact. Inside a circle of dolls, arranged like an audience, all facing a child-sized chair. One figure was missing from the circle, and no body was ever found. Historians still argue whether the shop had any real customers at all. You shut the cabinet. Your eyes adjust again to the shop's shifting gloom. It's darker now, even though the lights overhead still burn. Like the bulbs have grown tired of shining for things that don't blink. Then you notice it. The smell has changed. Gone is the lavender mildew. Now it's something sharper, sweeter. A scent that tickles the edge of your memory like birthday candles and burnt cloth. The dolls are facing a new direction, all of them, toward the velvet curtain, the one you thought led nowhere. You approach slowly, heart in your ears. You reach out, fingers brushing the fabric. It's thick, almost greasy. It clings to your skin like it doesn't want to let go. You part it. Behind it, to your surprise, is a long, narrow parlor. Like a tea room if tea rooms were designed by someone with a minor god complex and a doll fetish. Chairs are lined up along the walls, each with a doll seated, politely. Hands on laps, eyes forward. In the center, a low table. On it, a tea set, silver, stained. The cups are filled with something dark. You do not want to know what. One seat is empty. It's the only one child-sized. And next to it on the floor is a tiny red shoe. You pick it up. It's warm, just like the pen. You hear a shuffle from the room's far end. There's a curtain there too, this one's smaller. You walk toward it, carefully weaving between the seated dolls. You think one of them whispers, or maybe sighs. The sound's too soft to be sure. You reach the curtain, pull it back, and find a tiny stage, a marionette stage, the kind you see in old street performances, painted backdrop of cobblestones and moonlight. But the curtain is frayed, torn. A puppet dangles from above. It's small, child-sized, dressed in red. You can't see its face, it's turned away. But you know it's her, the girl from the photographs. Same hair, same posture, same red dress, and hanging from her wrist a key. It sways slightly, like it's waiting to be taken. You reach for it. The moment your fingers brush metal, the puppet jerks not up, not down, but sideways, like something is trying to pull it away from you. But the strings don't break. You grip harder, and the key slips off cleanly. You fall backward, landing hard on the wooden floor. The lights in the tea room flicker. The dolls in the chairs turn their heads toward you all at once, perfectly synchronized. The air hums again, and the puppet's head finally turns. No eyes, just hollow sockets, a mouth sewn shut, not with thread, with hair, black, human. You stand, fast. The key in your hand pulses faintly like a heartbeat. There's a symbol carved into its base, not a letter, more like an eye weeping. You don't know what it unlocks, but you know it's not just a drawer. Want something fringe to chew on. In some occult traditions, dolls weren't toys at all. They were vessels, tools meant to house memories, spirits, even bits of consciousness during rituals. Certain sects believed if you trapped a voice in the right vessel, you could borrow its soul for decades, sometimes centuries, just enough to finish a pact or a performance. You step back through the curtain. The dolls are all smiling now, every last one, not just painted smiles. Their porcelain lips have split open, revealing tiny white teeth behind the glaze. That's not how they were made. The key burns in your pocket as you flee back to the front of the shop. The bell jingles again. The shadow behind the door is gone. But now there's someone behind the counter. He's tall, thin, dressed in a long black coat. He doesn't blink, and neither do you. Because you recognize him. It's the man from the photo, Herr Grunwald, or whatever's using his face. He smiles, and he gestures toward the key in your pocket. You freeze. There's something especially awful about being told you woke her up by a voice that sounds like it borrowed vocal cords from both a 5-year-old and a cracked music box. You turn slowly because at this point, speed just feels like a formality. The shelf you bumped into isn't holding dolls this time. It's holding hands. Just hands, not human ones, at least you hope not, but doll hands. Small, smooth, some discolored by time, some still eerily pristine. Porcelain, wood, rubber, even one carved from bone. Each one displayed like fine jewelry. Each with a label. Alma, excellent stitch. Response, quiet sleeper. Theo escaped once. Now reinforced Maribel, rejected the lullaby contained. Your stomach turns. But it's not just disgust, it's recognition. Because at the bottom of the shelf is a name tag that reads, Quinn, still resisting. You don't remember ever being here before, which is exactly the kind of thing someone still resisting would say. A door creaks open behind you. It's not dramatic, just soft, but it echoes like thunder in this uncanny tomb of stillness. And beyond the frame, a stairwell, narrow, cracked stone steps, a single lantern flickering at the bottom like it's been waiting since gaslight was a thing. You descend, because of course you do. Halfway down, you brush against the wall, and your fingers smear something on the stone. You glance at your hand. Ink. Thick, black, smells like iron. You don't ask questions anymore. The stairwell empties into a cellar that's somehow colder than the others. Moisture slicks the stone walls. There's a faint sound, like boiling water, except slower. More patient. In the center of the room is a sewing station. Unlike the others you saw earlier, this one is plugged into something. But there are no wires, no outlets, just a pulsing vein-like cord running from the machine into the floor. And sitting at the machine, hunched and methodical, is the seamstress. She doesn't look up. She doesn't stop. Her hands are gaunt skin, like paper soaked in candle wax. Every motion is fluid, like she's done it 1,000 times or never stopped doing it in the first place. You don't want her to notice you, but she already has. Without turning, she speaks. You brought her back. You say nothing. You don't even breathe too loud. She was almost free, the seamstress croons voice, half a hiss, half a lullaby. Now we'll need another. She gestures to the side, and you notice something else. A small chair. Strapped to it, a doll in progress. But not just any doll. This one looks familiar. Same clothes you're wearing. Same hair. Even the same scar on your wrist from that one stupid childhood fall off a bike. You take a step back, and the chair creaks just a little. The doll's head twitches. Then its eyes snap open. They're yours. In a fringe bit of forgotten folklore from 17th century Poland, there were whispered legends of the lalki serka heart dolls. Supposedly created by sewing human memories into physical forms, these dolls didn't just resemble their makers. They were their makers, one for one. The living person would feel nothing until the doll was completed. Then the body would go still. The doll would wake, and the cycle would continue. Historians still argue whether this was allegory for grief or something darker. The seamstress finally stops sewing. She looks up. Her eyes are pitch, not black, not shadowed, just nothing. And her face, you wish it had a mouth, because instead where her lips should be is a stitched X tight tense, and seeping a faint, black liquid with each exhale. She points a finger at you, and from behind her a closet swings open. Inside are hundreds of identical uniforms, your clothes, your size, each labeled with a date, all future ones. You're not in the story anymore. You are the story. The room begins to shake. Dust falls from the ceiling in lazy arcs. The sewing machine starts again, unprompted. The doll in the chair twitches, lifts one arm, and then sings. It's your voice. Not like a recording, not close. Exact. Your intonations, your laugh, even the little lilt you have when asking questions. It sings a lullaby you don't remember learning. Thread and bone skin and glue. One for me and one for you. Tie the knot and end the day. So one may go and one must stay. You run. Back up the stairs, your hands slipping on the ink-slick walls. Behind you, the chair scrapes. You don't wait to find out if the doll follows. You burst into the main floor, panting heart, rioting in your chest. And everything is still, like it's waiting. The ballerina doll stands near the exit now, holding the guest book. Open. Your page is now full. Name, date, time, even your signature. You didn't sign it. You don't think. The bell rings again. But the door doesn't open. Instead, the entire front wall of the shop just vanishes, replaced by mirrors. Dozens, hundreds, all angled toward you. And in every reflection, you see something slightly off. Your face but twisted, smiling when you're not, moving when you aren't. And behind each reflection, just behind your shoulder, is a doll. The same doll, the you doll. It's getting closer in each image. You spin around. Nothing. You look back at the mirrors. Your reflections blink. All of them. Not in sync, not together, just whenever they want. The key in your pocket burns cold, as if reminding you it's still waiting for the lock, wherever that might be, and you suddenly understand something. The shop never needed customers. It needed replacements. You're not sure how long you stare at those mirrors. Time doesn't feel right in here. Could be minutes, could be years. The reflections still blink at odd intervals. One raises its hand and waves. Another tilts its head in a perfectly doll-like motion. You're the only one not moving now, until something shifts behind the glass. Not a reflection, a figure. It's hard to see. The surface blurs like breath on cold windows. But it's definitely there, something tall, lean, wearing what might be a child's Sunday best or a costume built from old photos and bad memories. It raises a hand slowly and points, not at you, at the key in your pocket. You back away, and all the reflections follow except one. The one with the figure behind it. That one stays still. You step closer to the motionless mirror hand, trembling as you pull out the key. It hums faintly in your palm, like a tuning fork made of secrets. The figure behind the glass tilts its head, almost pleased. You scan the edges of the mirror, and there it is, a lock, tiny, ornate, like it belongs on a music box or a coffin. You don't want to do this, but you do it anyway. The key slides in with unnatural smoothness. You expect a click, maybe a hiss of old air, but instead a whisper. It doesn't come from the mirror. It comes from inside your head. Transaction complete. Then the mirror shimmers like water, touched by wind, and pulls you forward. You fall, or are pulled. Either way, your knees hit hardwood. You look up. Same shop, but not the same. It's cleaner, brighter, alive. The shelves are stocked, and pristine glass-polished floors gleaming. Soft music plays, a waltz played too slow. Dolls line the shelves, freshly made, not yet cracked. There's no dust, no rot, no Grunwald. But there is someone behind the counter. You, except not. This version of you wears a perfectly pressed apron, embroidered with the shop's name. Their eyes are a little shinier than yours. Their smile is a little too perfect. When they blink, it's a fraction too slow. They don't speak. They don't have to. You know what this is. You've become the new proprietor. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. You try to move, can't. Your legs are locked. Your arms hang at your sides. You feel hollow, but not weightless. No, you're full of something else now. Cotton, porcelain. You try to breathe. It's difficult. Like air is an option you forgot to choose. You stare at your hands. They're no longer yours. The skin is smoother, shiny, cold. Painted fingernails. You've been reassembled. The bell above the door rings. A customer walks in. You recognize the look, curious, drawn in by something they don't understand yet. They glance around, step inside, breathe the same too sweet lavender mildew scent. The reflection behind the counter, you tilts its head in a welcoming gesture. The new customer doesn't see you yet, but they will, and when they do, the process will begin again. Want another charming historical detail to keep the mood light? In 1907, a French artist named Marcel Duray claimed to have created a living doll using his own memories and hair infused into wax. He displayed it once, then destroyed it. When asked why, he said, because it knew too much. His journal was found decades later, covered in tiny handprints no larger than a thumb. Historians still argue whether Duray was a fraud or a warning. Back in the shop, the music changes. A lullaby this time, same one from before, the one your doll sang. And you hear it now, not just in your ears, but inside your chest. It's your turn. You're the lullaby. You're the thread. You're the voice inside the walls. But then something impossible happens. A crack, small hairline, right across your porcelain wrist. It spreads slowly, accompanied by a soft tick-tick-tick from deep inside your body. A clock, a mechanism, a memory. You feel friction. Not pain, not yet. Just pressure. From the inside out. Like someone left the door unlocked and something old has decided it's time to leave. The reflection behind the counter falters for a moment. Just a blink, but not the elegant porcelain blink you saw before. A real blink. Your real eyes, buried deep beneath layers of glaze and glamour. You're still in there, and the crack widens across the wrist, up the arm, down the side of your face. Small flakes of paint fall like snow. The customer doesn't notice, yet. They're still admiring a doll in the far corner, a ballerina in pink tulle. The same ballerina, still moving, still watching. You try to speak. Nothing comes out, but the mirror above the counter begins to fog. And in the mist, your old face stares back, not the doll's, yours. And it's smiling. Because maybe, just maybe, you're not completely lost. Not yet. The crack doesn't stop. It spreads like lightning frozen in mid-bolt branching. Across your cheek, trailing behind your ear, spidering down your spine. You feel every tiny fracture not as pain, but as memory. With each split in the shell, you remember more. Your house as a child. The hum of streetlights, the first time you touched a doll and thought this one's different. You start to breathe again, just slightly, like air's trying to find you through the cracks. The customer in the shop, the girl in the yellow coat, is still browsing. Her fingers trail along the edges of the shelves. She lingers in front of the ballerina doll, tilts her head and smiles. The ballerina doll curtsies. The girl doesn't flinch. She giggles. You can't call out, not yet. But your fingers twitch just barely. Enough to knock over a spool of thread near the register. It clatters to the floor with a sound that feels oddly thunderous in this place. The girl looks up, and for the briefest moment, her eyes meet yours. Not the reflections. Yours. The porcelain smile wavers. Your mouth, your real mouth, itches to move. It feels like it's been asleep for years. Maybe it has. And then you hear it. That voice. The one from the marionette. From the letters. From her. You broke the seal. The sound comes from everywhere and nowhere. The ballerina doll jerks violently, like a marionette whose strings were just yanked. Her arms twist backward. Her legs snap into a graceless lunge. She drops to the floor and crawls toward the girl. You try to scream. Nothing comes out. The reflection in the mirror above the counter doesn't move. It's still smiling, still posing. But now you can see it's hollow, an echo, a recording on loop. Because you're no longer in the reflection. You're inside the doll, and you're waking up. Here's a detail historians never agree on. Some theories about mirror trapping suggest it's not the soul that gets caught, but the memory of a person, their mannerisms, their smile, their voice, all stitched into glass ready to imitate. A perfect puppet of personality, missing the real thing entirely. A mirror never captures your soul. It just borrows your skin. You force your fingers to curl. The crack widens across your knuckles. The girl in the yellow coat backs away from the ballerina doll, which is now crawling with purpose, jerking like something only pretending to be delicate. You try to move again, and your arm snaps not apart, but free. Porcelain falls from your elbow in sharp shards, revealing what's underneath. Muscle, not quite. It's threads, woven tightly, moving like tendons. You're not sure whether to be relieved or horrified. You rise from behind the counter, knocking over the register. The bell rings. The girl gasps. The ballerina doll stops just short of her shoe. And in that frozen moment, something else enters the room. Not through the door, not through the mirrors, through the floor. Herr Grunwald, not the one you saw earlier. This one is rotted, ancient. Strings hang from his fingers like veins. His head tilts at an angle no neck should allow. His eyes glow faintly, like candlelight behind bone. He steps forward with the care of a puppeteer nearing the finale, and he sees you, really sees you. You're out of place now, unscripted, broken. You're not the doll anymore. Not entirely, Grunwald hisses. No words, just sound. A hiss pulled from old paper and moth wings, and the shop reacts. The walls buckle inward. The shelves shudder. Dolls begin to twitch violently in their places. Heads turning, limbs lifting, like they're preparing for war or riot. You reach behind you and grab the letter opener off the desk. It's ornate, dull but sharp enough for something with this much thread. Grunwald steps forward. The ballerina doll turns her head, now facing you, and in her cracked glass eyes, you finally understand something you missed all along. She doesn't want this either. She was never the monster. She was the message. You throw the opener. It hits her square in the chest. Her threads unravel like smoke. She collapses not like a doll, but like a tired child. The girl in yellow runs straight through the open wall of mirrors. She doesn't vanish. She emerges on the other side. You see it clearly. She stumbles out into the real street, turns back toward the shop, and it's gone. The storefront is gone. Just a wall of bricks and an old tag someone sprayed years ago. Grunwald howls. You turn. The shop is disintegrating now, thread by thread. You grab the guest book and tear out the page with your name. It burns in your hand like dry leaves curling into ash without fire. And the walls collapse. Real light floods in. Sunlight. You stumble forward, coughing, breaking through layers of paper, fabric, and plaster. And then you're out, on the street. Same sidewalk, same bakery, same vape shop, except the shop between them is gone. No dolls, no Grunwald, just empty space. You check your hands, flesh, warm, shaking, and on your wrist a single red thread, tied in a knot. The end dangles, waiting. You stumble down the street like someone waking from anesthesia, too aware of your feet, not quite sure if they're yours. The sun feels wrong on your skin, like it's apologizing for being late. Birds chirp, cars pass, a dog barks. Normal life is back, but you're not convinced you are. You duck into a coffee shop on the corner. The barista doesn't blink when she sees you covered in dust hair wild eyes, darting like you just escaped a minor hell dimension. Rough morning, she asks, all chipper and oblivious. You nod. Just coffee. As she pours, you look at your reflection in the pastry case glass. It's you think. But something in the angle of your jaw, the softness of your blink, it's too smooth, too precise. You tap the counter just to see if your fingers cast a natural shadow. They do. Still, your hand drifts to your wrist, where that red thread remains tied in a perfect loop. You try to untie it. It doesn't move. You tug harder. Nothing. You ask for scissors. The barista laughs like you're joking. You're not. You leave the shop and head straight to a public library. You need answers, logic, grounding anything with footnotes. You start digging, and what you find doesn't help. There are no historical records of Grunwald's Dolls and Delights. No news articles, no zoning permits, no Yelp reviews, not even a badly photoshopped ghost hunter blog. It's like the place never existed, except there's one photo, just one, dated 1912. A grainy black and white image tucked deep in a digitized German newspaper archive. It shows a child standing outside a doll shop, The girl is wearing a red dress, and behind her through the dusty glass of the window is you. Same face, same expression, watching from inside. You slam the laptop shut, heart hammering. You look around. No one in the library is reacting because nothing's happened, nothing visible. You sit still, try to breathe, and then you hear it. That music, faint. A waltz played just a little too slow. You turn toward the hallway near the restrooms, and there at the end of the hall is a door, an old one, wooden, with a brass handle, and painted on the glass in perfect gold lettering. Grunwald's Dolls and Delights, 1894, all sales final. You blink. The door vanishes. It's just a fire exit now. Back to the books. You dig deeper into obscure trade records, letters, memoirs. And that's when you find her name. Liesel Grunwald, daughter of Jacob Grunwald, died in 1895. Except there are letters from her after that date. Lots of them. To other children, inviting them to tea, to watch the performances, to join her in her new role. Some are signed in red wax, others in black ink. One is simply signed with a sketch of a doll cracked down the middle. Fringe detail time. In the early 20th century, several toy shops across Europe reported strange happenings, dolls that moved locations overnight, customer ledgers with names no one remembered writing, and the occasional child who claimed, "The other me didn't like the dress I picked." Most of these stories were dismissed as urban legends or marketing ploys. Historians still argue whether these were hoaxes or warning signals. You find another name, Dr. Henrietta Bellwether, a psychologist from the 1930s who wrote a thesis called The Mirror Child Phenomenon. She believed certain traumatic liminal locations could split a person's essence, one part to live, one to perform. Her work was laughed off. She died in 1936 from choking on thread. You slam the book shut and realize the thread on your wrist is tighter now. You didn't touch it. It's just tightened. You look around. People pass you by. No one notices. No one ever notices, do they? You head home because where else can you go? Inside your apartment, you check every mirror. Normal. Until the bathroom. They're just for a flicker you see her. Not you. Her. The doll. Same clothes, same hair, same stitched smile. You throw a towel over the mirror. Then you hear it. From the closet. Soft. Delicate. Click, click. Click, click, click. Like porcelain feet tapping in rhythm. You grab your old box of things from childhood. There's a doll in there you barely remember owning. One your aunt gave you, one your mom tried to throw out because it gave her weird dreams. You lift it. Its eyes flutter open. One is cracked. You drop it. It doesn't break. It smiles. You back away. But the music starts again. Not from the doll. From inside the walls, and a voice whispers, "Almost home." The key. It's in your pocket again. You didn't put it there. You thought you left it in the shop. But now it's back. And it's warm. You don't sleep that night. The music fades around 3 a.m., but your nerves keep playing it anyway. You sit in the corner of your room like a tenant in your own body, eyes fixed on the mirror, still covered by a towel. The thread on your wrist pulses faintly tight, then loose like it's breathing. You don't dare touch it. Dawn doesn't bring comfort, only clarity. This thing, this shop, didn't vanish when you escaped. It just moved. Or maybe worse, it moved into you. By noon, your reflection still behaves, though you catch it blinking once before you do. Not dramatic, not evil, just off. Like a backup version waiting its turn. You check the guest book page you ripped out. You kept the ashes in a jar because of course you did. They're cold, now inert. Until you open the lid. The ashes twitch. No wind, no movement. Just the faintest curl upward, like they're trying to spell something. You slam the jar shut. At 3:33 p.m., your doorbell rings. You don't answer, but a letter slides under the door. Cream paper, red wax seal, that same damn eye. Inside, you are cordially invited to resume your role. Rehearsals begin at sundown. Please be punctual. There's a cue. You try burning it. It won't catch. You try shredding it. The pieces reassemble in your trash can like stubborn confetti. You try to forget. You fail. That night you sleep, only because your body forces you. And in the dream you're walking a corridor of mirrors again. But this time none of them show your face. They show others. Hundreds of others. Each one staring out from inside the shop. Some smiling, some sobbing, some with mouths sewn shut. And all of them wear the same thread on their wrist. When you wake, the thread is gone. For one blissful moment, you think it's over. Until you look in the mirror. Your reflection is smiling. You are not. You take a deep breath, and the smile disappears. Good, you're in control. Or so you think. Until your head tilts slightly, unintentionally, and your reflection doesn't follow. It waits, then tilts the other way, and winks. Ito. You leave the house. You travel fast, no plan, no map. You end up in a tiny mountain town where no one knows your name and the internet's a rumor. You rent a cabin. You try to write it all down, to document it, make it real. And then the locals start asking questions. Hey, weren't you the one in that weird doll shop video? You never made a video, but they describe you exactly. Down to your jacket, your expression. In the clip, you're behind the counter, smiling, welcoming someone inside. You try to find the video. It's been deleted everywhere, but some comments remain. Who's the girl in the mirror behind her? Why is the same shop in 3 cities? That doll at the end blinked. I swear the shop wasn't there yesterday. And one that just says, "Welcome home." You don't sleep that night either. The days stretch long. You stop seeing your reflection altogether. Not that you avoid it, it's just gone. Mirrors reflect everything except you. You try filming yourself. Nothing. Photos blurry. You record your voice. It loops endlessly, chanting the lullaby backwards. Your apartment starts smelling like old lavender again. You move. The scent follows. One morning, you open your front door. And across the street, there it is. Grunwald's Dolls and Delights. Just sitting there, in a spot that used to be a laundromat. Same dusty sign, same cracked window, and in the display, a ballerina, still mid-spin. Only this time she has your face. You run. You always run. But the shop never hurries. It's patient. You realize something then. It doesn't need to chase you, because you'll come back. We all do, like dreams, or nightmares, like roles waiting to be resumed, like performances left unfinished. The next morning a package arrives, no sender. Inside, a porcelain hand, a lock of your hair, and the key. You stare at it, and it pulses, because somewhere behind some mirror, or inside some wall, or beneath your skin, she's still waiting, and the show, it's about to start again. Word count 1098, wind down 300 words. The shop fades, the thread loosens, the mirrors fog and dim, and now we drift back slowly from those dusty shelves and silent puppets, away from stitched mouths and unlived lives. The music softens, no longer a waltz, just a hum, like a music box slowly winding down. Your breath returns to normal. Your fingers unclench. The walls around you are solid again. Nothing flickers in the mirror. Nothing whispers from beneath the floorboards. Just quiet, the good kind. And if there's still a thread on your wrist, maybe it's only from a sweater. Maybe. The mind is a strange place. It fills gaps, makes shadows. Out of furniture, turns creaks into footsteps. But that's part of the magic too, isn't it? That flicker of fear before sleep. that tingle in the spine when the lights go off. The unknown doesn't have to stay scary. Sometimes it's just a story waiting for its next audience. So breathe. You made it. The dolls are quiet. The door is locked. The mirrors are only mirrors for now. Rest easy, dream deep, and let your thoughts settle. Like dust in an old shop that no longer exists, at least not tonight. Thanks for listening, and remember, just because the shop isn't there tomorrow, doesn't mean it's gone. End of script. Sweet dreams.